friends!
It's Angelina and Dima here from Walking Nature World, and today we're starting the Tour de Mont Blanc hike. This trail is around 150 kilometers in total, and it goes around the summit of Mont Blanc. It crosses France, Italy and Switzerland.
And for us it probably won't be the longest hikes we've done because we've already done the Camino de Santiago. It was around 500 kilometers, but definitely the most high elevation one, and possibly one of the most challenging.
We're planning to do it in 8 or 9 days, but it will depend a lot on the weather conditions and how hard the trail will be.
And for us it will be a first hike in the season, so we think it will be definitely a challenging one. And as always, we are bringing all the necessary equipment with us, our tent, and we are planning to do wild camping most of the time.
This time we're hiking as prepared as we can. We bring with us solar panel and power bank to make sure our battery is always charged.
Also, we bring with us our water filter and portable water container to make sure that we never run out of the drinking water.
And lots of dry food. Tomatoes, mushrooms, some rice and dry bread.
Yeah, so we are more than ready to be independent.
So now that the adventure begins.
Let's start the hike. We started our journey to Chamonix with a 6-hour trip and 600 kilometers of the road. We took a BlaBlaCar from the city of Perpignan to Annecy, France. We were absolutely exhausted at the end of the day and stayed for one night in Annecy. We had some time in the morning to walk in the town and along its beautiful lake. Then we finally got to Chamonix and were out to explore the village. Already from the road, we were amazed by the views of the abrupt mountain cliffs and peak of Mont Blanc with the clear sky, and we even saw the glacier. That was the first glacier in our lives, and it was fascinating. On the first day of our Tour de Mont Blanc, we woke up quite early and we still weren't feeling well after our long 2-day trip. So we had our breakfast and started the hike. We didn't have big plans for the day, so we took the trail that was going alongside the river right to the next village, Ouche, where the official Tour de Mont Blanc trail starts. It was around 11 kilometers in total for the day. We started by walking through the Chamonix village, the center and its outskirts. The trail we took turned out to be the local walk from the village to village, with lots of shadow and going through the forest all the time. The path was flat most of the time and not difficult at all. It was well marked as well. The views were amazing all around us. This way we got to the village Ouche before 16 p.m. and had to find a stealth camping spot for the night. And we found one at the side of the ski trail. Then we had our dinner and went to sleep early when it got dark outside. We started the day at 6:30 a.m. in the wild camping spot at the ski trail. Ate our breakfast and were good to go. The plan for the day was to do around 15 kilometers and get to the next village, Contamines-Montjoie. In order to do so, we had to go over the big mountain and ascend to 2,100 meters from initial elevation of 1,000 meters. The start of the day was cloudy and the mountains were completely covered up. We started to go uphill and went through several small house holdings and sheep pastures and then went out to the ski resorts. The trail was quite steep all the way through. The views of Mont Blanc were absolutely breathtaking. Every time we turned back, we saw incredibly high and beautiful mountains. It was hard to believe our eyes. Then we met the tramway of Mont Blanc that turned out to be an old rack and pinion train that has an elevation profile from 500 meters to 2,300 meters. We continued to go uphill and reached one of the first highest points, Hôtel de Bellevue. After some time we had to cross through the hanging bridge that was quite small and solid one. Then we saw that there is one last uphill of the day, called the Tricot of 2,100 meters. There was quite a bit of snow left and we were deepening down quite a lot. We were almost at the peak when the dark low clouds started to come down at us and we heard the thunder. It was very scary, so we tried to go faster. We got over the mountain quickly, but soon realized that it's getting worse with the fierce wind and rain with thunder. The wind started to blow extremely strong and it was not only pouring rain, but ice coming down at us. We got all wet in seconds. So we just had to stop at the side of the rocky steep trail right in the wet grass and wait for it to come. We haven't been in such harsh conditions before and so didn't know how to behave. When the wind calmed down a bit, we started to descend down. The ground was extremely slippery and our legs were very sore already from the long uphill. We did the downhill in around 30 minutes and headed straight to the refugee house to dry up our clothes. We spent there a good couple of hours. We knew that we can't do it till the plant village that day, so we had to search for the place to camp nearby at the riverbank. That night was very cold in the valley of Miage and everything was wet. We were very exhausted from yesterday's extreme adventure and in the morning felt falling apart. So we decided to take it easy that day and hike till the closest village, Contamines, which was only in 7 kilometers. Right from the start we had to go over the steep uphill and hike up the mountain. There we saw some wooden houses that were probably the refugee houses. And we saw the cow pastures for the first time in these places. They were brown and white and were very similar to the ones on the TV commercial of some Swiss chocolate. After that we started our way down that was very steep, first going through some scenic forest paths and then getting out of some dirt car roads. That was really hard on our knees. When we finally got to the village Contamines, it was already 12:30 am. Then we stretched a bit further along the river to the campsite Pontet. It turned out to be a cute little campsite with a special dedicated area for the tents. So it felt very nice to have some time to rest as we came quite early to the spot and to recover our powers to continue the trail tomorrow. That day started very late. We knew that the trail will be going uphill for a long time and then we'll face the mountaintop to climb. So first part of the trail was going along the river and then it started to climb a very steep uphill. It turned out to be a Roman old way, and there we met a Roman bridge and a very beautiful natural place with the very powerful and fast waterfalls and deep ravine in the rocks. It was simply amazing. The places like this make all the effort worth it and motivates you to discover more of the nature's beauty. We continued to hike uphill and to our surprise, the trail was quite easy. It was a dirt car road that was climbing very gentle for a long time till we got to our planned destination, Refuge de Balme. The path was becoming steeper and steeper, and soon we met quite a big snow areas under our feet. In some places it was quite deep and dangerous to step at. Then the glorious view of the snowy mountain has opened to us, and we realized that this is how the trail goes next. So with the belief that we have enough powers to do it and that the uphill looks steeper from afar, we started to climb it. It was steep and all covered in snow, but the footpath made by people helped a lot to stay on trail and to keep the snow hard enough to step. We didn't expect there will be so much snow left still in the middle of June, so we weren't prepared enough. So with a lot of effort we were staying on top of Col de Bonhomme and had to go further uphill to the refuge du Col de la Croix de Bonhomme. This part of the trail was a bit easier. The views all around were very picturesque. Then the downhill was becoming steeper and more extreme. There was quite a bit of snow on the trail and we literally had to slide down with our feet. After some time the snow disappeared and we started to see the eternal green hills. There we found our camp spot on the side of the hill. In total we did 14 kilometers that day and it was one of the hardest days on the trail we had so far. We woke up to a sunny windy morning in our wild camping spot. We had our breakfast and started to go downhill. So we got down to the village Les Chapeaux and went further along the river. The trail started to gradually going uphill again, and all the first part was very easy going on the pavement car road. So we continued our way up, and halfway to our destination the trail started to become steeper and rockier, climbing the side of the mountain. We had to go over lots of water streams and waterfalls along the way. So we got to the Vie des Glaciers, and as we saw no possible places to camp, we continued further up the trail, where we saw some ruins of the old rocky buildings and some more or less flat spots to camp. That day started at 6 a.m. in the morning because we wanted to conquer the mountain as early as possible. The weather promised to be warm and sunny, with no clouds on the horizon. All the first part of the trail was going quite gently uphill. The path was swirling in a snaky kind of mode for quite a while, and it gave us great possibility to enjoy the views from all the sides. When we got to the top of the hill called the Seine, at 2,500 meters, we could enjoy a 360-degree angle, amazing views. From now on, we'll be hiking in Italy for a while. the way down there were more snowy hills and slopes, and we were sliding down quite a lot on them. We got to the refugee Elizabeth at around 14 p.m. Then continued going downhill and finally we were out on the flat route. We saw that the area was all wetlands, so we couldn't really find a place to camp there. With a bit of hesitation, we decided to descend down to Valvain to the campsite. The way down was very easy pavement road, mostly with no traffic, going through the forest and river gorge. And so we got to the village La Visay and then to Plan de Vain, where we found the campsite Hobo Camping Valvain. The views from it were just amazing, with the huge rocks touching the sky and plenty of waterfalls descending from it down. We couldn't find a better spot to camp for that night. We got out from the camping quite late, at 11 a.m, and we had a plan to get to the village Courmayeur and stretch a little bit further. For the first part of the trail we were walking along the pavement car road with a gentle downhill which felt so easy and great. We still got the amazing views of the mountains, Mont Blanc in the clouds, waterfalls and glaciers. In about an hour or so, we were in the village Courmayeur. The town Courmayeur was a nice village with lots of rock buildings and beautiful views all around. Unfortunately, there were no campsites close to the village, so we had to continue along the trail, going uphill in search for some place there. The trail was going up in a zigzagging style and was easy enough all the way through. It was going through the forest with lots of shadow, and the weather was very comfortable too. In about an hour and a half we got to the top of the hill, and we ended up doing 800 meters of elevation from 1200 meters to 2000 meters. So after searching for quite a while, going uphill and downhill, we luckily found a good place to camp. The day started with a little drizzling rain and very gloomy weather. The place we found was very nice and secluded, and nobody disturbed us. All things were wet, including the tent. The rain stopped at one point, but the mountains were still covered in clouds. All the day the trail was going on the side of the mountain, through the forest paths and several beautiful waterfalls. There were no extreme parts. The weather was very unstable. One moment the sun was coming out, and the other it was raining again. We quietly got to the refugee Walter Bonatti, and it started to rain, so we decided to wait for it to stop under the refugee roof. After only 1 kilometer, we heard a thunder and saw another big dark clouds coming our way, so we had to wait another time for the pouring rain to stop. Seeing this unstable weather and more clouds in the sky, we decided to descend down to possibly find some place to camp there on the way. We found a flat spot quite easily and even had time to chill out outside before it got dark. That night we were enclosed in the tent for 12 hours straight. It was raining all night long and only at 7 AM it seemed to stop. We were very worried because of this unstable weather, and the forecast was predicting the similar rainy conditions of the day before. And if we were to continue the trail, we had to go over a steep mountain crossing to Switzerland. So we made our mind to have this day off the trail and went back to the town Courmayeur once again, taking the bus. We did our shopping there, bought some food, and got back to the Val Ferret to stop at the campsite. We wanted to rest for some time and gather the powers for the next big day to come. It was the first bright, sunny morning after a long time. We left the camping at 9 AM, and when we gazed up, we finally could see the Mont Blanc in all its majesty. There was no single cloud around it, and it happened so rarely. Right from the beginning, the path was constantly going quite a steep uphill. In some places there was a snow left, and we had to pass through the slippery, snowy side hills. The path was going in a zigzagging mode, so it wasn't extreme nor too difficult. In some places there was quite a bit of mud and it was very easy to sleep on it. So we got to the top of Grand Col Ferret, and from there we could see the borders of the three countries that we crossed. France on the other side of the valley, Italy down in the valley, and now Switzerland in front of us. The views were unforgettable from there, with the snowy patterns on the mountains, abrupt and spiky rocks, and perfectly clear polarizer sky. We already saw that the way down isn't going to be easy, because there was quite a bit of snow left. Some parts were steeper, some parts were flatter, but overall it was quite challenging to do. The weather was burning hot and we walked without a single shadow for 5 hours straight. These last 5 kilometers to the village Lafuli were very easy, going on the car road and passing through small villages, idyllic grassy fields and sheep pastures. The sun was setting down and it felt better to walk at this time of the day. We got up very early to be able to do the biggest part of the trail as early as possible. Campsite we stayed in was amazing, very spacious and green and surrounded by the high mountain summits from all the sides. We wanted to get to the village Mont Blanc, which was in 14 kilometers, and the trail wasn't expected to be difficult. First 7 kilometers till the village Pras de Fort were going downhill through the dirt car roads and some forest paths. Then we were going through the villages Pras de Fort, Les Arlaches and Esther. Soon the fresh morning air changed to stuffy hot midday air. We passed through several fields with no shadow and were at the foot of the uphill for the day. It was 4.5 kilometers uphill with around 300 meters of elevation gain. We had to stop every 1.5 kilometer in a shadow for a break. This way we were able to do it. So at 16 p.m. we made it to the village Mont Blanc. It turned out to be quite a big village and the lake was all surrounded by the houses. We left the village to explore the forest surroundings in search for the camp spot and found the place above the road on the ski trail. We started our uphill at 7 a.m. from the village Arpet. And right from the start we noticed that there are no usual signs and marking of Tour de Mont Blanc. There was just a red and white mark of the other trail going to Fenêtre d'Arpet, where we were heading. But because we had our GPS track and we saw another several people go in the same direction, we decided to continue on. first, the trail went through quite a gentle uphill through the forest and along the river, but soon started to get steeper. Then it began to go through the big rocks and was getting harder and harder. We felt like this was more challenging than any other mountain crosses that we did so far on this tour. Then we started to see the blue line marking on the rocks, and we were sure that it wasn't Tour de Mont Blanc. The trail was becoming steeper and steeper, and soon we just saw a rock pole in front of us and sign that this is the way. At this moment we stopped and realized that it was too risky to even attempt doing this trail. We still saw quite a bit of snow left and high steep mountain rocks all around us. So after 3 hours of going uphill, we had to turn back. We had to get down 7 kilometers from the mountain under the hot sun. We had some break in the shadow of the forest and made our minds that at this point we were ready to finish our Tour de Mont Blanc. We felt like we did enough with 11 full days in it and doing almost the whole circuit. Tour de Mont Blanc was a beautiful but at the same time challenging trail for us. The places the trail goes through are amazing. It was an absolute pleasure hiking through them, and we enjoyed every step of it. This trail will be forever in our memory, and we would love to go back to it in several years.